Well, it looks like you guys are back again. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Visual, the podcast where I interview all those people responsible for creating the videos and images and all that kind of stuff you see out in the world every day. I am your host, advertising and lifestyle photographer Mark Hansen. And today my guest is Bowen Mendelsohn. Bowen is the executive creative director at the With Agency in Atlanta. And we talk about all kinds of stuff. We talk about his love of skiing when he lived out in Colorado. We talk about how Gilbert Gottfried did a little thing for him, announcing he was freelance when he was freelance at the time, and how he mispronounced his name. And he did it all through Cameo. So you can go to Cameo and hire Gilbert Gottfried to do the same thing for you if you want. We talk about mosquito repellent diapers that he helped work on. We also talk about his internship at McCann, where he just wanted his boss's approval and everything and to be noticed. And he thought one day he was, and then found out not so much. So check that out. And also working what it was like to do a shoot with Chevy Chase and go to his house in Malibu and meet him. So I think it was Malibu, may not have been. Anyway, it was in California. So anyway, go check it out. Listen to this one. It's a good one. I think you'll enjoy it. And let me know what you think. I saw the Gilbert Gottfried video.
Yeah.
For you. That was cool. So
yeah.
Is it Bowen or is it Bowen?
It's Bowen. And that's,
okay.
that's what was so great about that video, because I love that he butchered my name, because it just added that layer of just awesomeness to it. Because that's the one thing that's great about Cameo is, like, gosh, I did one for my wife, and I think it was on Mother's Day, and I actually wrote a song, and it was for Lisa Loeb. And Lisa Loeb actually sang the song, and it was great because the song was just like so incredibly dumb about how my wife is, is a great mom, and like how she washes butts, and like Lisa Loeb actually sang it. And it was just amazing, because I don't know, just like having like a singer like sing a song that you just wrote, just kind of like off the top of your head for your wife. It was really
I think
cool.
it was pretty cool. So did she have the melody and all that? How did you get that to her? She just make it up?
She just made it up. Like, it was great. It was really awesome.
Have you used Cameo a lot?
So I've used it twice, the Gilbert Gottfried one and then Lisa Loeb. But I think it's just a really amazing platform, because it just allows you to, send messages to people, and it feels endearing and it feels personal. From my experience, the celebrities do a great job to like make it seem like, hey, I'm just reaching out to you. Like, hey, this is Ice-T.
Right.
Just reaching out to you to wish you a happy birthday or congratulations on that promotion.
Yeah, I've talked to was it Kevin L. Johnson from Ozark, and he was talking about how he's on there, and he said like Mother's Day was a huge day for him. He made like $600-800 or something on Mother's Day just from doing little cameo bits.
It's really great, because it allows like the normal everyday person to tap into celebrity talent.
There's some big people on there that I wouldn't have thought would have been on there, but then they're like $500 to get them to do something as well. So you got to have a little bit of cash.
Snoop Dogg's on there for $500.
Who is?
Snoop Dogg.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's maybe who I'm thinking about. Because I remember I saw somebody, I said, damn, they're on here. And then I saw it was like $500. All right, okay. That makes a little more sense.
It's interesting, for sure.
Yeah. So, man, tell me a little bit about you. I want to know like how you got into this. I mean, what got you to Atlanta? I mean, where'd you grow up? All that kind of stuff.
So I grew up in Colorado,
Okay.
and I was like literally like born on a ski slope. I started skiing around the time it was just shy of my third birthday. And growing up, like, that's all that we did. Is like my parents constantly had me outside, and like we would camp in the summer, ski in the winter, and it was amazing. Like, it was a really great childhood.
Did you want to be like a professional skier or anything like that when you were growing up?
No, I like that's also another thing about I just kind of maybe lacked the motivation to do
Yeah,
that. And
yeah.
my parents were just sort of like, "Oh, you like to do this? Okay. That's fun." And like I definitely took it for granted now that I live in Atlanta and I don't ever get to ski. I mean, I go every year, but it's 65 days versus, versus like 65 days a year versus like two if I'm
Right.
lucky.
It's a little bit of a difference.
Yeah. So, and then I went to University of Colorado. I went to a small school in California because I played lacrosse in college. And then I was a
Get your teeth
computer
knocked out playing
science.
lacrosse?
What's that?
You get your teeth bashed in when you play lacrosse?
No, that's like hockey. Lacrosse is like a light, like less like a wimpier version of it. Like
I
it's
just
still
imagine you
rough.
going back and like the ball gets like slammed into your mouth or something.
You have a really good mask on, like or a good helmet on with like a really good protective shield.
That's good.
Um, so and then I was a computer science major, if you can believe it. And then I quickly realized that I'm not a computer science guy.
You
Like,
have no idea how many people I've talked to. It's the same kind of deal. They're like some kind of total science math kind of thing they go into college for, and then they realize, nah, that's not what I want to do, which just shocked the hell out of me. I didn't expect that.
yeah, it was. I think I just like all of my friends in high school, or a good amount of them were like that kind of like a lot of them became investment guys or like lawyers, and a couple of the on the fringe like myself and my other buddy, like my buddy became like an installation artist. And like he and I made a pact in high school. We're like, dude, let's get jobs where we don't ever have to wear a tie. I was like, deal.
I
He
like
became
that.
an artist and I went into advertising. And then I transferred to CU because they had a really University of Colorado because they had a really good journalism school. And I knew that I wanted to get into advertising, which is weird.
Wow, yeah.
Uh, and so then I went there, and then I went to New York for my first big internship in McCann. Out of college, I had my book. Like this is back in the days where you actually had a book, and I think I even had a piece laminated. And I showed it to a creative director, and he looks at me. He's like, his name was Steve Skiba, which, believe it or not, like he became my boss later in life. And he looked at me. He
Really.
says, like, have you ever thought about going to ad school? Because my book was so bad out of college. And I didn't, like it was really interesting because like I thought I was all that, and it
Right.
turned out that I didn't know anything. So then I went to Miami Ad School, and that was sort of like that was great. Like it was awesome because I got to go around to different cities and go into different agencies, be at Leo Burnett, which is gigantic
Yeah, damn.
and be in these big meetings and learn from these great people. And then, after I graduated, I was lucky enough to land a job at Deutsch in Los Angeles and was there for 6 years. And it was great. Like, I didn't know, like, talk about taking something for granted. I didn't know how good I had it out there. Like, in the 6 years I was there, no one left.
Really?
And we were like a family and we just had fun. I mean, we worked our butts off. Like I always tell everyone, it's like I lived in Hermosa Beach for a year and a
Yeah.
half, like 2 blocks from the beach. I could see people surf from my couch. And
Damn.
I don't think I saw a sunset because I was always at work.
Really? Oh my
And
God.
but it was fun. Like we had a good time. And then, I decided I was like, you know what? I don't want to marry the first girl that I date. So I moved to New York. And I remember waking up on January 5th and in this apartment in Lower East Side where I swear to God, I heard rats scurrying around at night from my Venice Beach like condo 2 blocks from the beach to this Lower East Side apartment.
That's a
And
180
I was
right there.
outside and there was snow and I was just like, what the hell did I just do to myself? But you know what? Like looking back on it, it was great because, first off, I met my wife there and, we've been married now for 12 years, and that was awesome. And I just got to experience a whole different side of advertising I wouldn't have experienced if I would have stayed in Los Angeles.
What's the difference
And
between the clients you guys had in the two agencies? Was there a big one, or was it?
you know what? Like the clients were the same. It was just sort of like the approach to it. Like LA always seemed like the ad market always seemed to like take a back seat to the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
And New York, it felt more like, oh, there's a gigantic building, for McCann, and there's tons of floors. And that was just, it was really good to get like more of like the business side of advertising. I think I
Right.
learned there. And then since then I've moved back to LA, to Chicago for a couple of years, to Northern California, and now to Atlanta. So we were in Northern California, and my wife was working for Apple.
Okay.
And I was just sort of like freelancing around. I, got a chance to work at Uber, which was great. And and
Was that
then
right? How long had Uber been around at that point?
it had been around for a while. My buddy was the director of brand,
Oh,
and this guy, the name of Adam Kennedy, he was awesome, great guy. And he brought me in to do some freelance, and and then like something happened, and Adam wasn't there anymore, and I think it was obviously his decision, and I just like I wasn't going to stick around because he was the reason why I was there.
right.
uh and then my wife got sick, unfortunately, and she had to have brain surgery, and
Oh,
while she was
damn.
having while she was recovering,
She okay? I mean, she recovered fully from all that, or
yeah, for the most part.
yeah,
And just like being in Silicon Valley, and she wasn't working for Apple anymore, and Atlanta, a job opportunity at Fitzco came up, and my wife and I were like, I said to her one day, I said like, hey, what do you think about Atlanta? She's like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, let's look. And so we started looking at houses, and we're like, oh my gosh, like we could live like, I don't know, like a drug dealer down there. Wait, is that house say 5,000 square feet? Wait, that's the price? And it was a little bit of a sticker shock because we were in Northern California,
oh
where
yeah.
1,200 square foot house that my wife dubbed as the trailer um, was like $2 million.
Yeah, my brother moved to Pasadena. He's an architect, and they were sending him out to LA for 2 years to work with Diesel, no, not Diesel, Lucky, to redesign all their stores and stuff.
Oh,
And
wow.
so he got a place in Pasadena, and I thought he may end up living out there. So I looked up the price, and I found what looked like a crappy little pool house that was mostly cinder block, and it was a little over 1,000 square feet. And I swear to God, it was like $1 million.
Oh, it's so when we were living there, someone legit rented out a crawl space for $500 a month. Like it may have been a joke, but the fact that like that the person got some applications is the problem.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so we moved to Atlanta, and honestly, like I didn't have any opinion of it. I had a friend that grew up here. Uh, and we moved here, and I was like, this place is awesome. Like it's outdoorsy enough that sort of can, gives me the hint of Colorado.
Yeah.
There's hiking nearby, there's good mountain biking. And then the city itself has just a really great like feel to it. And it's a really good like mix of different cultures, and also has a rich history, civil rights, and and it just feels like that they're investing a lot into the city. And so we kind of fell in love with it. And we live in the suburbs, and we live in this community with there's like a community pool, and people go to the community pool, and all the neighbors actually hang out, and the kids actually play together.
Well, that's
It's
cool.
it's pretty awesome. And Atlanta itself it's just it's a really great city, and it has a really good culture here. And and a good vibe. Like it's nothing like I expected it.
How long does it take you to get to work? That would be
20
horrible.
minutes.
Really?
Well, I mean, but this is like pandemic getting to work.
Before pandemic, how long did it take you?
Oh, geez, man. Probably more like 35 minutes. It's funny.
Still, it's not bad.
It's not like LA where like LA is like
LA is horrible.
there is no rush hour. Rush hour is just all the time.
Yeah, I swear I was there one time. I want to say 4.5 miles, and it took me 45 minutes, an hour to do 4.5 miles.
Oh yeah, like we used to drive up to Mammoth during the weekends, and the rule would be like, all right, we leave at noon on Friday, or we don't leave until 9 at night on Friday.
Yeah.
And because otherwise it would just take you so long and just be ridiculous and awful. And by the time you got there, you would hate everything.
And that's saying a lot because I always thought Atlanta traffic was terrible. And then I went to LA and I was like, all right, not quite. Atlanta traffic's not quite as bad as it could be.
Yeah, it's just it ebbs and flows, and it's really like there's a true rush hour, which if you can work around that, then you're golden.
Are you still going into work, into the office?
Yeah, we go in. So I'm working at a smaller place now, and there's usually less than 10 people in the office. So we go in 3 days a week. Usually Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay.
Sorry, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So
That's
yeah.
not bad.
No, it's not bad. It's good to like meet face to face, and we all wear masks, and it's really it's safe, but it's kind of nice to have that like in-person camaraderie.
Yeah, I would think. I've heard some places talking about not going back till. Well, I was talking to Greg Gorman at LL Bean. He's told me that they're building a new major headquarters, or they're revitalizing it or something. And he said they have told them that they're staying home till 2022. They're not going back at all next year. I guess because they had pushed up the renovations from like a 5-year thing to now, since nobody's there. And now he said he's home for the next almost 2 years.
Yeah, I think that I think like REI is doing the same thing, right? Like REI is like giving up their, or is that the same? That's not the same company? No. No. REI, I believe like is giving up their headquarters, and I think letting people work remotely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, my brother, like I said, he's an architect. He said they've been slammed. He said because all these people who were wanting to do renovations to their headquarters and having everybody out of the office now, he said it's giving them plenty of time. So they're calling, going, "Hey, come in, let's do it now, let's do it now, let's do it now."
Right.
So, and then I heard somebody else in New York was telling me that she didn't think that their agency would ever go back to everybody being there in person again. That it would be one of those things where you just rent out an block off time in one of the conference rooms or something.
Yeah, I honestly think that so when Corona hit, I was the director of creative for Orange Theory, and I was flying down there every single week, and there was sort of like this.
And where are they?
They're in Boca.
Okay.
And there was sort of like this thought that like, we have to, all be in the office together. And like working remote wasn't, really like a thought that, a lot of people sort of like entertained. But then I think a lot of companies have realized that it's a nice option, especially if it alleviates stress on the part of the employee, because like that stress really, it really like hampers productivity, especially for a creative, because if my brain is going down the stress lane, like the creative faucet is like shut off.
Oh yeah.
it's done. So, I mean, yeah, I basically worked from my basement, and I found other places like my deck and my man cave, or I would like be sitting upstairs in my master bedroom on a couch, or, you find interesting places, and it's sort of like, oh, where will, so-and-so be working from today? And we just got it done. And we were really super productive, and it was actually pretty great.
Yeah, man. I
So
think if it works, it's good. And I think seems like a lot of people are figuring out how to make it work right
yeah,
now.
it really just sort of like puts it on you.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you know what needs to be done. You have to get it done.
So
And
when you were at Orange Theory, that was you're like that's the client side, right? So
client
you
side,
guys were you guys hiring ad agencies when you were at Orange Theory?
yeah. So we were working with two. We were working with Tombras, and then Sapient, which I think is now Razorfish, or maybe it was Razorfish and now became Sapient. It's one of the two.
Right.
Um, yeah, we were working with them. Orange Theory still works with Tombras,
Okay.
but I was running the internal agency, and I had a crew of about, I think a crew of like about 7 people, and we just went and made stuff for members. And I'd been a member for 7 years, so it was my dream job. It was amazing. It was a
That's
lot of
pretty
fun.
cool.
And then when coronavirus hit, I got to, co-create Orange Theory at home, which was they'd never had a digital version of their workouts. And so I got to co-create that. And that was awesome. It was a great experience.
Yeah. Did everybody start freaking out when this whole coronavirus thing hit with Orange Theory, especially since it's a gym and everybody had to go there to work out in person?
You know what? Like, people did freak out, but at the same time, like, there was a mentality of like, what do we got to do to get this done? Like, it was really cool to see that everyone sort of like didn't allow the stress and the freak and the sort of like the thought of all the studios closing like hinder. We just sort of like sprung to action and started to come up with solutions.
Well,
it
that's
was
good.
really it was really awesome to see, and it was inspiring because, I mean, at that point, you're right. You have two options. You can either shut it down and just kind of throw your hands up, or you could be like, hey, let's just, what do we have to do? Let's get this done.
Who came up with the online idea?
Um, well, so believe it or not, we had another plan to get the workouts to members, and it probably wasn't, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it probably wasn't the best idea.
Yeah.
And so it was literally like, it was myself and then, Dr. Rachel Reed, who's the head of fitness there. And we just sort of like birthed the idea of this. And so literally I went back to my sad Airbnb, and wrote a script, if you will, based off of the workout template that she provided. Showed up the next day. Our awesome producer Margin like secured a spot where we could go shoot, and we shot the very first one that next day. And the way we did it, the way we did it was like, we were like, okay, so if a person's at home, they probably don't have weights. So what could we do? Give them options that they have around the house. Okay, so if you don't have weights, use paint cans. If you don't have blah blah blah, use this. And so we really thought through the member, and putting ourselves in their shoes, and really tried to give them options based off of their situation. And I think that that's why it was popular, because people love Orange Theory, and they really loved that they could still get a taste of it while quarantining at home.
Well, the fact that you guys thought all the way through, I think, is impressive because my wife had these workouts and they were like, all right, well, go over now and grab up the pull-up bar. And like, I don't have a damn pull-up bar. There's no pull-up bar in this house. How am I doing that exercise when we don't have any of that stuff?
Yeah, it's, there's a lot of very smart people at Orange Theory, and it was just a really good collection of folks, trying to come up with new ways to get these workouts to the members and keep the members engaged in the brand.
So when you left Orange Theory, then now you're with the With Agency. Is that it?
Yeah, it's called the With Agency. And it was I know it's weird to go back for like, you've always heard like creative saying like, oh, once I get out of agency land, I'm never going to go back. And so why would I go back from like a global, fitness company, which is, amazing. It has a great following and a great brand, to a small agency. And it's really because I believed in the founders of the With agency and sort of like their way of thinking and their way of doing things. And I was like, wow, it kind of made me realize that ad agencies kind of suck at advertising for themselves,
Yeah.
if you think about it. And
Yeah.
it's
Some of the
because
worst websites I've seen have been ad agency websites.
it's so amazing. And it just is because a lot of them don't really have a story. Like they're like, it's never like, oh, hey, it's always just sort of like, oh, Wyden and Kennedy, it's amazing. Well, because of your approach, it's like, no, we hired great people and we just do fantastic work. And I felt like and the way that they collectively thought about things and the way that they do things and get to know their clients, and like with means with clients, sort of like understanding, like they really get to know their clients and understand. And there's a whole way that they go about doing it, and like in a process, a proprietary process. And I was like, wow, that's really cool that you all thought about that. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to jump back into agency land. And here I am, I think it's my third month. And it's fun and interesting and also scary because you have to wear a lot of different hats because it's a smaller place, but we get it done, and we do the best we can, especially given the fact that there's a pandemic and uncertain times ahead.
Yeah. No kidding, man. Between like a smaller place like With and then, one of the bigger agencies you've been at, what's the biggest difference? I mean, do you like the bigger agencies better? You like the smaller agencies better? Is it just a different thing
It
altogether?
really depends on what you want out of a job.
Yeah.
You want to just sort of like hide and just do what you're supposed to do and go home at the end of the day, and maybe shoot some spots throughout the year or go make a cool idea every once in a while? Or do you want to be in the thick of it and really affect change and be a part of decisions? So that's the difference between a big agency and a small agency.
Sounds like a
It's
small agency would be more fun
it's
if
it's
you want to get into doing things as opposed to just sitting around doing what you're told.
Yeah, and it allows you to wear a bunch of different hats and flex different muscles, and really just sort of like, okay, so I'm not just a creative, but I'm also sort of like, I have to think about strategy, and I also have to think about um, you know, how can we use media in a different way, and how can we go mine for clients? So thinking about business development. I know that creatives usually do that, but it just seems like it's in a different capacity.
How do you get clients at an agency, especially a smaller agency? Is it?
It, it's like it's either word of mouth, like one client that you work with tells a friend,
Yeah.
or you reach out to old clients that you've had, or you do some great work and it gets out there in the world and gets written up in Adweek and clients find you that way. So it's a it's a bunch of different ways.
Yeah. I didn't know if it was like, say you guys wanted Coke, if you like put together something and send it to Coke, or do you call them? Do you call somebody up over there and go, "Hey, we want to come in and meet with you guys"? Or
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like you have to sort of like know people there,
yeah,
because I guarantee like every agency under the sun is trying to get in, with Coke or with
right,
Nike, or with some of the beloved brands,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. So it's pretty much like everything else. You better know somebody.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
a lot of those things are about relationships, unless you go off and you pitch like a big piece of business.
Let's
Even
talk
then, it
about
could be about
one thing I saw she did was the mosquito diapers.
yeah.
Tell me about that, man, because I've never heard of mosquito diapers.
So it was a lot of things that I worked on throughout the years, like it was just sort of like this, like my time at Ogilvy in Chicago was really about was 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 the time that I realized that advertising is doesn't always have to exist in like a whatever you call it. Doesn't always have to exist in the TV or in the radio or in digital. Like advertising or marketing can really be anything. And the mosquito repellent diaper was really just us, you know, it's because Huggies had a partnership with Malaria No More, and we learned that malaria was the largest, or was the single biggest killer of babies in the part of Africa. And so we're like trying to think through, since Huggies and since diapers like that are a luxury out there.
Yeah.
We wanted to think through, okay, so they usually use diapers like this at nighttime. And we knew that it wasn't going to be like the thing that stopped malaria, but at least it was like one tool in their arsenal that they could use to help stave off mosquitoes. So that was just, it was just an idea that we came up with. I mean, I wish there was like a bigger, like grander story about it, but
I just thought just the idea was impressive.
it was just one of those things where, it's just one of those things, I guess, that I learned throughout my career. It's like ideas are always out there based off of things that are happening in the world, problems that you're trying to solve with a product, or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
yeah, there's a lot of that out there. And I feel like that's the best way to be proactive.
I thought it was a genius idea. I saw that and I immediately saw it on your website and I just stopped because I just saw the mosquito repellent diapers. I just went, what? And I just stopped and checked it out. And yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool deal.
Oh, thank you, sir.
What would be like, out of everything you've done so far, like, give me some story about one of your favorite shoots, or maybe a cool location you went or something like that you really enjoyed.
This is probably one of like, this is one of those things in advertising where like a shoot went above. So we were off shooting Navy Federal Credit Union, and we were shooting with Wayne McClammy. And Wayne McClammy is the most awesome director. And here's why he was so great. He was great because he was so collaborative, but he didn't like, he wouldn't listen to what you wanted and work away from it. He would listen to what you wanted and figured out a way to do it better. Client comments, everything. I was like, wow, that's a really genius way of doing things. Yeah. So he shot our Navy Federal stuff, and we made snow in Los Angeles. What else did we do? We made a like a Tough Mudder type event out in the desert. But the greatest thing we did was we went to this location in Malibu, and it was like on this cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean. I think like Sting's house was down on the right.
Oh, wow.
And it was just like this amazing thing. You had to walk down this like set of staircases to get to the house that was on the bottom, and the waves were crashing against the rocks, and it was this beautiful location, and I guarantee it was really expensive. And literally like the shot that we shot at that location could have been shot at like a kiddie pool in and it was just like all of this hoopla for this maybe 3-second clip that was on the very end of one of the commercials.
Oh, wow.
It was just sort of like, wow, that's so funny that we went through all this and that's all that you use of it.
Do you ever get the feeling that sometimes producers or clients just want to shoot in a certain area and it doesn't matter? Because I was in Palm Springs shooting one time for a week. And basically what they wanted was everything in the background blown out of focus and mostly sky. So I laid basically on the ground almost every day for a week, shooting at the sky and getting just a little bit of, mountain or location house or whatever in the shot. And I was joking with my assistants, like, we could have shot this outside, the company's headquarters. We didn't
Oh,
come out to California to do it.
yeah. I mean, yeah. There's like an old joke amongst creative is like you always start off the script of open in France or open on a beach in Bora Bora.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, I shot some Expedia commercials really early in my career that took me to Australia for 3 weeks.
Oh, that's cool.
And then
Did
my
you see anything in Australia, or was it literally shoot and come home?
oh no, it was definitely a boondoggle. Like
Yeah.
we stayed in a hotel and like I'd get up. Okay, we have casting at 4. Okay, I guess I have to wake up early and go over and rent a surfboard at Bondi Beach for the day. And like we worked hard, but still, it definitely didn't need us there for that long. And my partner at the time, she actually went on to New Zealand to shoot an exterior of this like hunting lodge. And I wasn't an art director, so I went home. But she like went and stayed at this like insanely exclusive lodge for a couple nights and shot the exterior, and then she went home. But like, and that was honestly for 2 seconds in the commercial, and she went there for 2 days and like shot this thing.
Sounds like a good deal.
Yeah, back in the days of big budgets.
Yeah. Yeah. I had one where I remember we went to Cabo, and it was get up and shoot at sunrise, take off, from 10 till 3 and go do whatever, then shoot from 3 to sun, or really shoot. I guess makeup hair was at 3. So really shoot from like 4 or 5 until sunset. And then the next day, I think the first day was all scouting, but that took literally an hour. So we got there and then just got to scout. Then we did the shoot the next day. Then the next day we had the shoot, but we finished by 9 a.m. and then had the rest of the day and we just went and hung out. And I love those shoots. Those were fun.
Yeah. Like a lot of times, the like the best stuff will come for that, right? It's like, yeah, like people are saying like, oh, you have so much time padded, and it's like, well, like magic happens at weird times. So
I think it helps when you're not also pressured. Like we could have done those 2 days of shooting, or day and a half or whatever of shooting. We could have done it all in one day, but it would have been a lot more pressure, a lot more people scrambling to get things done, and it wouldn't have been as good, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's nice.
I have another really fun like shoot moment, but this one is more like in the prep. So we wrote this campaign for Chase Bank, and it required a celebrity, but that was part of it. And so we actually were going to work with Jeff Jenkins, and like we were writing these scripts with him, and then he couldn't do the job. And so we ended up, the client suggested that we use Chevy Chase. And like, he was my like, I love all the movies,
yeah.
like Caddyshack and Fletch, and it was just incredible. And so the first call we have with him, he's looking at the script and he just starts ripping apart the punctuation. And he starts like, who wrote this? And I was like, that would be me, Mr. So I was like, that was my first thing with him. And then, but the most interesting part was when the part of the contract was a meet and greet. So we went to his house in LA, and it was just a house that he was renting while filming Community. And we pull up and I was like, wow, this is, kind of modest compared to what I thought it would be.
Right.
But it's just come to find out it was just a house he was renting. And so we walk in and there's Chevy Chase. I'm sitting on his couch with the client and 2 other people. ESPN is playing on the television. And Chevy Chase is walking back and forth doing wardrobe. And as he passes, he stops and he makes funny comments about the people on ESPN. And I was just like, this is the most surreal moment of my life.
That's very cool.
I'm in Chevy Chase's living room, and he's just like making funny comments on ESPN. Like, is this real? Like, it just felt one of those moments where like, am I in a dream? Because this is just odd.
Yeah.
So,
That's
but
very cool.
yeah, it was cool.
Did you get a picture with him or anything?
I did. It was I don't know. I think I was wearing a pink shirt and I looked weird. That's that's probably why I don't share very often.
Hey, but it's still you and Chevy Chase,
Yeah, man.
which is kind of cool, I think.
Pretty cool.
So you've won a ton of awards. So you must be pretty decent at your job.
You know what? Like I can't take credit for those at all. Like it it's interesting because like behind awards are a lot of like really awesome people that like great account people, great agencies, great clients. There's a lot that goes into that, and I learned a lot from my old boss Noel Cottrell, and I'm so thankful for him because he really taught me a lot about award shows and creating great work to go into award shows. And so I'm very thankful for him and my old partner Mike Grunewald, which it looks like Grunewald,
I was
but
going to say, how do you say that again?
Grunewald. I think that's right. But yeah, it's like we had fun working at Fitzco and creating some great work for Coke. And it was like, it took a village. Like there were a lot of really great people, Sherman Winfield and James and like there's just a really great amount of people putting in a lot of effort for those ideas. And I'm thankful for them because like, honestly, like awards are hard and creating great work is hard because a lot of people can come up with great work, but then you have to sell through to the client. And, it takes a lot of different people.
How does it help you that you were on the client side, not you're on the agency side? Does it help with the understanding of what they're thinking now as what maybe before you were on the client side?
Man, I always like preach that when I went client side, it's like I got a PhD in advertising and just like realized, and it's something I never want to forget about, being inside of there and seeing how clients work and redefining how you present work to them based on what I experienced at Orange Theory. Like I'm telling you, it was such an eye-opening, amazing experience.
Yeah, I can see that.
I know, I just kind of maybe realized that I've been doing it wrong for the better part of my career.
Oh, God. Well, hey, at least you figured it out.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's like you have to match your creative idea with a business problem that they're trying to solve.
Right.
Like that's the simplest way to put it. It's like they don't care about your funny commercial unless that funny commercial really is going to help them out and move business in the right direction.
Yeah, I had never really known about, everything I've done has been through the agency or directly with the client. And so I haven't really experienced all that stuff that goes on between the agency and the clients. I've been involved in the middle of some stuff where I'm set to shoot in 3 days and the client and the agency have a big blowout and the agency fires the client. So I've had that kind of stuff happen. But my wife, they were looking for an agency to help them rebrand, and watching everything. She's the COO of her company, and watching everything that happened on her end and hearing how she was talking and what she was needing out of the agency and what they weren't giving her. And it was interesting to see how that happened, and then they didn't go with some of the bigger agencies around here. I'm in Charlotte. They were going with some smaller ones, and just praise mainly budget reasons. And it was interesting to watch how, after talking to some of my friends that are at bigger agencies and then seeing what the smaller agencies did, there was a huge difference. Like the bigger agencies were talking about how they would get in and talk to them and really understand what's going on with them and what they wanted and what they needed. Where the smaller agency was like, oh, well, here are 5-8 different types of logos we think you guys will like. And my wife's looking at me going, this doesn't fit us at all. This has nothing to do with what we told you about us. So it was interesting to watch all that happen.
Yeah. So back to like with, that's what with means. Like with, and that's why I loved it so much, because it was everything that I learned client side is what they do. It's like they really get in and understand the client as, and use that to influence the work. And I was like, wow, I mean, that's basically what I, like what I learned at Orange Theory, and that's how I want to do things. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I
And
think
it,
it makes a huge difference.
dude, it's smart because it's like you were saying, like I'll never forget when I was working at Orange Theory, and I won't name the agency, but they were presenting some scripts, and like one of the scripts is like, yeah, so the person finishes the class, and the instructor says, and it's like, okay, well, we don't call them instructor, we call them coaches. Yeah, so the person, well, we call them members. So the member leaves the studio, it goes into the locker room. Well, we don't really have locker rooms at Orange Theory. And it was just sort of like, oh my gosh, this person is presenting a
Wow.
script and they've never taken an Orange Theory class in their life. And that,
Wow.
like, that's when I realized, like, oh my gosh, like clients really care if you actually know about their business. It's like, here I am, I was on the other side and sort of like complaining about clients, but I was like, wow, it makes sense why they would get mad, because I'm paying you money and
Yeah.
you should know what I do for a living.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the way it was with my wife's company because she was complaining about them. And I'd always heard the clients complain, my agency clients complain about their clients and how difficult they were being. And then after hearing on my wife's side, I was like, well, now I get it, because they're not meeting what the client needs. And so that's cool that you guys are really doing that.
I mean, and it's definitely something they've always done from the beginning. And they have a really cool process that more or less like onboards new clients,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
really, really sticks them in a room for a couple of days, and goes through this process in which we really get to understand the client, and then from that we present something back to them, and then from that we get to go in on work. And
Yeah.
so it's the things of like, hey, what keeps you up at night, and what are your business problems, what are your opportunities, like they actually go off and interview people in the company, and not just like
Yeah.
the CEO, but like other people, and find out like what makes this place tick.
That's
And
smart.
then it's, yeah, man. I mean, like, that's why I loved it so much. And what really sort of like, enticed me to, unfortunately, leave Orange Theory, which was a dream job for me. And I still love it and value that place so much, and go back to agency land. It was that like, really believed in this agency's process.
Yeah. So have you guys shot any since this whole coronavirus thing is?
At Orange Theory, we shot I mean, a ton. We shot daily workouts. We also shot,
You guys have a studio there to shoot in, or
they,
did you go somewhere to shoot?
so they were in the process of building one. Like there was a whole content studio that they were going to build out, like
Oh
this
wow.
gigantic space. It was going to be amazing. Um, but coronavirus kind of put the kibosh on that.
Yeah.
So they just use a couple places that are nearby, but it's all done. Like Margin, who's my producer at Orange Series, she's a guru. Like that woman could pull off anything at the drop of a hat. She was amazing, and so everything was very safe. And if you didn't feel like doing it, then you obviously didn't have to.
Damn. All right,
Yeah.
man. That's very cool. So let's talk a little bit about these children of yours.
Okay.
So I saw that you have your son is into Metallica. Your daughter likes to surf.
Well, she likes this. She likes to skate, like long skateboard.
Oh, okay. All right. Longboard. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was going to ask, where are you surfing?
Yeah. No,
It's
we
worth
so
anything.
believe it or not, like I've discovered the longboard at skate parks. My son and I went to not during lockdown, but like during on the heels of virtual school, he and I would after school go boogie down and go to skate park. We went there every single day.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was awesome. Like
That's very cool.
he's a monster on the scooter, and he's only 6.
Really?
Oh yeah. And then yeah, my kids are very opposite. My daughter's more like me in that her brain is constantly firing and going, and she's an extrovert. And then my son is a little more reserved, except for when you get him on a soccer field. And then it just sort of like there's this animal. It's funny because my wife's nickname growing up was Animal, like
Really?
on the basketball court. And he just like he goes to like he just like this thing comes out of him, and he's just like all of a sudden he's just a force. And now he's obsessed with Messi, and watch Messi videos, and he's gonna play travel soccer.
Oh,
And
wow.
he's I mean, like, I gotta admit, like, he's good.
Yeah.
He like has the footwork, he pulls the ball back, he
Really?
nutmeg kid, which like kicked it between his legs, and in 2 games scored 10 goals. It was, I mean, 6 years old. So,
Right. Yeah, but still.
but still, it's like it's so much. Like, I had a parent come up to me after one of the games, says like, and he was a Hispanic man, and he said, "Hey, is that your son, number 2?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "He's really good." And I was like, "Man, that's a good feeling when a parent from the opposite team comes over and
Oh, yeah.
congratulates you." And he's great. And then my daughter is a very good. She's really into dance, and she's very creative, and she's funny. She wants to be an actress or an art teacher, or I think it
Okay.
changes every day. She's awesome. She's always been my adventure buddy, and she's just a really good kid.
You're probably in a good place for either one of those, actress or art teacher.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So watch out for travel soccer, man. My daughters both did travel volleyball.
Oh
That's
yeah.
God almighty.
Oh, dude. Well, so Knox's travel soccer is like 30 minutes away too.
Oh, okay. That's not bad. Yeah, ours were like we're in North Carolina, and we were at one point we were going to, I think it was Ohio, Kentucky, Florida,
Oh my God.
Georgia, Tennessee, all in one season. Yeah, because when you hit that, like, it sounds like he would be in the one of the top teams, in which my daughters were, and so it was constantly going. When they were little, it was nicer because it was literally an hour and a half away, kind of stuff. So if they were split off, it wasn't a big deal. I could go one, my wife could go the other. But then when they got older, my oldest one stopped playing, but then my youngest one kept playing. And I mean, that's when we started getting into going to these ridiculous places. And luckily, they weren't going to Colorado. Like a few years before, they'd been flying out to Colorado to play. And
Oh my
that's a
God.
lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how sports, start at a young age. And I think someone just had an interesting idea, and I can't remember who it was, one of the agencies, but it was sort of like this idea. It was like the idea of a kid retiring at 9.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant because like you just realize that, like, at what point are you supposed to sort of like say to your kids, it's time to be competitive. But if you do it too early, then you run the risk of them burning out. But if you don't do it early enough, you run the risk of them sort of like it's one of the many things that's incredibly hard about being a parent.
Oh yeah. Like I said, my oldest stopped playing after her sophomore year in high school. She was just like, she didn't like the pressure. She didn't like her. She had bad teams where the girls were constantly screaming at you, and so she didn't like the pressure. And she was middle, so basically her job was basically to block the ball and occasionally hit it, but she just didn't like it. And my youngest, she was set to play. I mean, everybody was talking about her playing D1, going to college, and about the same time, sophomore year, she was just like, I want to keep playing at school and play the travel light where we don't really travel much. And it's girls who had been planning on going to college who decide not to because she basically just burned out on it. Like, I don't want to do it anymore.
That is, I mean, you just summed up my my college lacrosse career.
Yeah.
It was just sort of like when I got to college and I started playing, I was like, wow, this is like kind of serious. And then I'll never forget, it was during the halftime at one of the games, and there's this older guy who actually went to my high school, and now he was at Chapman where I played, and his name was Mike Bonifazi, just like fiery Italian dude, and he's just yelling at me because I think I'd missed a pass,
Yeah.
and I was just sort of like, like I'm playing for a smaller school in California. This isn't like a career for me. Yes, I really want our team to win, but like, this ain't the way to do it.
Yeah. Well, the worst part is when you get yelled at by somebody who either just screwed up or isn't very good.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, Mike was very good. And so, like, he could yell at people. But at the same time, like, that wasn't how I worked. Like, if you start yelling at me, like, I shut down. I'm not gonna spring to life. I'm just I'm gonna go the opposite direction.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing about having the right coaches. They've got to know how their players work. Because my daughter, my oldest, she had a coach that I think was her second year in high school. He screamed at all of them like they were guys. And you watched all these girls, the more he yelled at them, the worse they played. And then he'd get so mad he'd shut up. And then you'd watch them start playing better. You know, when he stopped screaming at them.
It's so amazing. Like, people, yeah, I don't know.
Right. And you're talking about the whole when to start and when not. I have a friend who played in the NFL for 13 years. He said he never played football until he hit high school. He said, you know, and he said it came down to just talent. If you're going to go, he said, if you're going to go to pros, no matter what sport it is, he said, most likely you're very athletic and you can drop into a sport, say in middle school or late middle school or early in high school and be okay. But like my daughter, my oldest started in 7th grade, I think, playing volleyball. And my youngest is 3 years behind her, but she started hitting the volleyball, like playing with my daughter in the yard or whatever. She would get up from lunch or dinner and go bang the volleyball up against the wall back and forth and then come sit back down to finish eating. And then she started playing probably 5th grade, maybe 4th grade, 5th grade, something like that. I think 5th grade. And like I said, by the time she hit 10th grade, she was burnt out. And then she heard a college coach go, you know, if you come play here, we own you. Don't expect to go home for your full spring break. Don't expect to go home for Thanksgiving if you live out of town. You know, and she's like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Chapman was that same way. You had this incredibly long break, but there was this thing called interterm. And interterm was like you could take a class. And I remember this one class was called Cathedrals of Europe. And it was literally like you could go over to Europe and study cathedrals and get credit for it.
That sounds like a cool class.
But if you were on the lacrosse team, you were back January 4th. And so we were in the dorms a whole month before anyone was even back.
Ooh.
And doing 2-day practices.
Yeah.
And I was like, screw this. I could be in Europe right now. You know, I'm over 18 and I could be drinking a beer, but here I am, like working my butt off and getting yelled at by Mike Bonifazi.
So tell me about this Airbnb thing that you have up on your site. It's just like tons of Airbnbs. Is that from when you were at Orange Theory?
Oh yeah. So
if somebody has a foot fetish, they should go check it out because it's just.
Someone would comment and be like, oh, like, why must you take pictures of your feet? I was like, well, because I started off that way. And like, I have to maintain the aesthetic. So South Florida is just a strange place in general. And Orange Theory would give me a travel stipend. And, you know, like if I wanted to use it, I had to use it sparingly, or that's just how I chose to use it.
Right.
That was at first. And then after a while, I was like, wow, this is just really interesting. So I would go stay in Airbnbs, and I would always look for ones that were like under $100 a night because I was there for like 3 or 4 nights. And then, so the further into the winter it got, the worse the places got and the more expensive they got,
Oh yeah.
because that's when all the snowbirds come down.
Yep.
So I would start in the middle of summer, like on the beach in Deerfield Beach, and then by the winter time, I would be in a shared apartment in Pompano Beach or inland. And so I just started like taking pictures of them and really like just like looking at all the weird stuff that happens, and just writing about my experience, because it was just so strange.
Yeah. South Florida is a
And
strange place to begin with.
oh man, it's like that place should be a science experiment. It's and it's not to say that it's a bad place. It's just ripe with interesting.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I did on these Airbnbs. I was just like, man, like there's a tattooed face guy that like is watching over the place I'm in, and I just texted the owner that there's no remote controls, and here he is showing up banging on my door, and I'm like, yo, I don't really need a remote that bad, because like you look like you can kill me, and I just want to watch TV.
Yeah. Yeah. I was looking for one time, and it was literally a trailer on the side of like in a parking lot someplace for 120 a night or something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we're hit about an hour. So let's get to, I'm going to give you the last question. I'll let you go. What is the strangest or most interesting thing that's happened to you since you've been in this world of advertising?
That's a really good question. So I'll give like an example of like when I first got into the business, and I was I was an intern at McCann. And like, because I feel like this is incredibly relevant, because it just shows like students in that position are just like what do I gotta do? Like I'll do anything. And so there was one of the creative directors. I'm not gonna say his name because I don't know. I just don't
Yeah.
want to say it. And like and I was always like admired his work, and I thought it was great, and like I was really trying to like get in with him and like get into the know with him, and one day he just never noticed me, and he had this big office, and I was always like admired his office and like all these awards that he won, and it was fantastic. And one day I was walking by his office, he's like, hey, come in here. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like he's gonna ask me about myself, he's gonna give me an assignment, he's really gonna like take me under his wing. He's like, pulls out a cigar, he's like, do you have a match? And that was it. And it was just sort of like, now that I look back on that, it's like those sort of experiences has really like influenced the kind of person that I want to be in this industry. And I'm never going to ask anyone for a match. I'm never going to claim that I'm better than anyone. Like we're all equals, and we're all just trying to like slug through work and you know, and do great things.
Is that
So
dude
that
still
was a
around?
really like influential small moment, but it was has has had a big impact on who the kind of person I want to be.
I could see that. Yeah. Is he
Yeah.
still around? Do you know?
I highly doubt it. But the woman that worked with him who was not like that, and she's actually amazing, and is Joyce King Thomas, and she, you know, came up with the Priceless campaign for MasterCard, and
Oh,
she
wow.
was there, and but she was not this person. Like Joyce was amazing and great, and eventually was my CCO at McCann. But I
Well, that's
loved
good
her.
to hear.
Yeah, she's great. Very great woman.
Well, dude, thank you so much. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
brother.
you agreeing to do
Man, I
this. And
appreciate you too. Thank you so much, sir.
yeah, man,
Reach out,
absolutely.
reach out anytime.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. And anybody watching, listening, thumbs up it, like it, comment, follow, subscribe, whatever you're supposed to do to on podcast.
All right, sir.
All right, man. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
All right, brother.
All right,
Appreciate
see
you.
ya.
Bye.